Live from the RCA Dome in Indianapolis, today one champion will be crowned. It's the boys high school basketball state finals, game one between the Broncos of Lafayette Jeff and the Giants of Ben Davis. Good morning, I'm Vince Welch. My partner is a former champion. He was Mr. Basketball in 1969 and played for that great Bill Green team at Washington and won it all that year, didn't lose a single game.
Well, that's been a few moons ago, Vince, but certainly nothing has really accomplished or felt the accomplishments of winning the Indiana State High School Championship in '69. One of the greatest feelings I've ever had.
Two great matchups today in the second game. It'll be New Albany and Warsaw, of course, and if you're a fan that favors the rated teams, you might like these two ball clubs. New Albany and Warsaw, both top 15 teams at the end of the season. The first matchup hits a couple of teams that weren't ranked at the end of the year in the final poll, Ben Davis and Lafayette Jeff. The Broncos tied a state record, earning the 17th trip to the Final Four. An 80-65 semi-state win over Gary Wallace featured a game-high 24 points from Neil Biggs, one of three Lafayette Jeff players averaging double figures. Junior forward Kylie Watts checks in at 12 points per game, while Carson Harris leads the Broncos at 14.5. All three of Jeff's state titles have come in presidential election years and hope again to make the final ballot. The road to the finals for Lafayette Jeff, winning the Lafayette sectional with victories over McCutcheon, Lafayette Central Catholic, and Carroll. Now, Lafayette Jeff, as we look at the regional and semi-state trails, the only team to make it here to the Final Four without having to beat a rated opponent, and it was a thin one at the West Lafayette semi-state, an overtime victory over Plainfield before taking the championship over Gary Wallace. And this Lafayette Jeff ball club, George, Jim Hamill, their head coach, he's been here before, once with Lake Central and once with Jeff.
Well, it certainly has, and he's done a nice job. He'll run a lot of people in and out. They really get after you. They work hard. Should be a great matchup here this afternoon.
The Ben Davis Giants will provide opposition for Lafayette Jeff, and of course the Giants made history last week by winning their fourth straight regional championship. The defending state champs are back in the Dome for a record fourth straight year. BD downed Anderson in the Hinkle semi-state 52-47 in a hard-fought game that typified the Giants season. Ben Davis has only one player scoring in double figures. Jan Price averages 10.5 per game. But fellow senior Jeff Poisel gives the Giants an outside threat. And junior Chet Washington has stepped up in crunch time, evidenced with a game-high 17 in the Giants semi-state victory. Ben Davis cruised through its sectional with wins over Pike and Ritter, won their fifth straight regional championship in Hinkle Fieldhouse with victories over highly regarded Franklin Central and Lawrence North, and then a fourth straight semi-state championship. Ben Davis had to beat two very good ball clubs at Hinkle last week in Newcastle and Anderson, George.
Well, Ben Davis certainly has a lot of momentum coming into the state finals, and I'll tell you, the one guy who I really think has made a big difference for the Giants has been Coach Steve Whitty.
Whitty's done a great job. He has players starting at this point in the season that weren't seeing minutes earlier in the year and vice versa, so he has certainly had to make some adjustments as his ball club has made it back to the RCA Dome for the fourth straight year. It's Warsaw and New Albany in game two, Ben Davis and Lafayette Jeff in game one, and of course the championship game is tonight right here at the RCA Dome. A member of our broadcast crew, he's working courtside and will visit with quite a few different coaches throughout the day, is Ron Sexton.
Thank you, Vince. We've assembled another roundtable of experts. We'll check in with them regularly throughout the day. And also both head coaches in game one. One of our members of the roundtable is Doug Mitchell, the head coach at North Central High School. He can offer a very broad perspective today because his team has faced three of the four teams here in the Final Four. So stay tuned. All of that's coming up.
Thank you very much, Ron. Vince Welch along with George McGinnis from the RCA Dome in Indianapolis, getting you ready for the boys high school basketball state finals. State finals, Lafayette Jeff has won 12 in a row. Ben Davis has won 10 straight, and of course the Giants trying to repeat as state champions. And if Ben Davis would do so, the Giants would be the first to defend their title since Marion, the great Marion three-peat of Bill Green's ball club up in Marion.
Yeah, that's right, Vince. Good point.
Let's go.
The unmistakable sights and sounds of high school basketball, and this is the ultimate, the Final Four, 1996 Final Four. I'm Ron Sexton, live courtside from the RCA Dome, expecting a huge crowd here today, especially for game one. A very good matchup, Ben Davis and Lafayette Jeff. The head coach of the Broncos is Jim Hamill. You've been here some time. This is your school's 17th trip to the Final Four. Old hat for your team.
Well, that's it. School's 17th, but it's only the first for these kids, so you don't know how you're going to react. Obviously, this is an unbelievable week, and we're looking forward to it. We've had a great week of practice. See what happens.
Tell us about some of the keys which come to mind for your team here in Game 1.
Well, I think, number one, we have to keep Ben Davis off the boards. That's been our strength. That's their strength. So we've got to control that. And then they're an outstanding defensive team, and so we've got to attack them. And then you certainly have, you're playing with however many thousand people here, and you got to get rid of the nerves early. And I think whichever one does that, obviously in this game, has a big advantage.
As a coach, what do you tell your team? How do you try to calm your team down with all of this?
Well, we have good kids, and our kids play at Mackey Arena. They've been through a lot of big arenas, nothing like this, but they know what their job is, and I think we'll be fine.
Maybe some of the fans are perhaps just as familiar with your brother, Bob Hamill, who's a longtime beat writer for the Indiana Hoosiers. He's now retired. Has he offered any advice before today's game?
Well, most people think he's my father because he looks a lot older than me, but he's done a great job. And no, he didn't give me advice. He's just happy to be here, happy and sad to be here because the Hoosiers aren't playing. But he's, I'm glad he's here, and he's been great to me all my life. And hopefully we can win the thing when he's here.
Coach Hamill, best of luck.
Thank you very much.
His opponent for Lafayette Jeff will, of course, be the Ben Davis Giants here in Game 1. We're a familiar combo here during the tournament. How you been?
It's great. We've had a great week of preparation. We're looking forward to getting going.
What's going to be some of the keys on your end here in Game 1?
Well, they like to get up and down the floor and try to score before you can get back on defense. So our transition defense will be very important. They have some real wide bodies in the low post, and we got to do a good job of defending him there and blocking them out and not giving second shots. We can get those things done. We feel like we can be competitive.
We talked about how often Lafayette Jeff has been here. You guys have set a record. This is your 4th consecutive trip. Are the nerves a bit on ease this time around? Guys a bit calmer?
Well, we've really been blessed to be here for the 4th time, and 3 of our kids are seniors. This is the 3rd year in a row, so we feel very comfortable here. We're looking forward to trying to put 2 good basketball games back to back.
You've offered a great deal of wisdom to your team throughout the tournament. What do you tell them before tip-off in Game 1?
Well, we basically told them that they had a great deal to be proud of, how great an honor it is to represent the city of Indianapolis in the Final Four for the 4th year in a row. And all it boiled down to a great week of preparation. Now all they need to do is go out. Teams that execute their game plans the best today is the teams that are going to have the most success. We want to be one of those teams.
Coach Woody, best of luck. We'll talk again at halftime.
Thanks a lot.
Steve Woody of the Ben Davis Giants, live courtside from the RCA Dome. It's the 1996 Final Four. Game 1 is on deck.
With George McGinnis, I'm Vince Welch. The Broncos of Lafayette Jeff, a team that goes up and down the court, as we've heard even their own coach say. They're not going to hide it from you. They're going to run the basketball. And, George, I think the player that spearheads that attack is Carson Harris.
Well, he absolutely does. He's a 5'11" senior, and a lot of people consider him the best point guard in the state. And he'll have the ball in his hands most of the time. So Ben Davis will really have to defend him.
As far as Harris is concerned, and we'll take a look at him, he's a guy that averages 14.5 points per game, and he also gets to the free throw line, and he's a good free throw shooter. And I know you're a man that believes free throws are going to make a difference.
Absolutely, which means he penetrates a lot if he's getting a lot of opportunities from the free throw line.
For the Ben Davis Giants, Ben Davis has just one player averages for the season in double figures, and that's Jan Price. But the real key in the tournament, I think, has been Jeff Poison.
Well, Jeff has been terrific. I mean, he's had some big-time games in regional and semi-state play. I think he's averaging around 16 points a game for those 2 outings. As you take a look at his numbers, he's got an outstanding stroke. He's going to college on a football scholarship, but he's dangerous behind the line.
And he has certainly been the threat for Ben Davis beyond the stripe. Of course, BD will pound it inside, but Ben Davis can run with you, or they can play the half-court game, and it'll be interesting to see which of these 2 teams controls the tempo here in game number 1. Let's talk about the Pizza Hut key ingredients, and let's begin with the Broncos of Lafayette, Jeff.
Well, I think Coach Jim Harrell said it best when he said they must attack Ben Davis. Don't be afraid. Be aggressive. That's how you got here. And, of course, for Ben Davis, they're going to have to control transition play.
The Ben Davis Giants trying to win a 2nd consecutive boys high school basketball state championship. The Broncos of Lafayette Jeff will provide the opening game opposition. You're watching the state finals from the RCA Dome in Indianapolis. For game one of the boys high school basketball state championship, the Lafayette Jeff Broncos and the Ben Davis Giants getting ready to do battle. And of course, game two this morning features the Bulldogs of New Albany and the Tigers of Warsaw. Two outstanding teams meeting in that afternoon contest, and certainly looking forward to two great matchups this afternoon, and of course the championship game tonight. And you'll see it right here along your Indiana High School Basketball Network stations. This has been the 90s, of course, the 1990s, and it has been the decade of the Giants. Like it or not, Ben Davis has dominated high school basketball. Look at this. 1991, Ben Davis lost in the sectionals, but in 92, the Giants went to the semi-state championship game before losing on a last-second shot to Richmond. In 93, Ben Davis was state runner-up, made it back to the Final Four in 1994. In 1995, Ben Davis won its first high school boys basketball state championship with a record of 32-1. And here for a record fourth straight appearance in the boys high school basketball Final Four, the Giants have arrived again, George.
Well, certainly this has been the decade of the Giants. They have done an outstanding job, and of course, led by the outstanding coaching of Steve Woody. He's also had a number of pretty good players along the way, too.
Let's join now the public address announcer at the RCA Dome, Mr. Scott Gray.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the RCA Dome and Indianapolis. At this time, we draw your attention to center court for a Hoosier basketball tradition. The singing of Back Home Again in Indiana and of our national anthem. Singing Back Home Again in Indiana and the Star-Spangled Banner today will be Nellie Short, an 8-year-old third grader at Thomas A. Hendricks Elementary School in Shelbyville.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The new moon hastens all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana home. Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The new moon hastens all this fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana home. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Nellie Short, third grade, Thomas A. Hendricks Elementary School in Shelbyville,
Pretty good, huh,
Indiana. Wow. If that won't get you ready for basketball. The first of two games this afternoon from the RCA Dome in Indianapolis. Game 2, of course, featuring Warsaw and New Albany, two teams that have been highly regarded throughout the season and each finished rated in the top 15. In this second game, it's Lafayette Jeff and Ben Davis. Neither team was in the rankings of the Associated Press or the coaches poll at the end of the season, and they are each trying to become the first unranked team to win the championship since Carmel in 1977. The Ben Davis Giants are the defending champions. Ben Davis making its 4th straight Final Four appearance. And George, you remember that Marion team of the mid-'80s with Jay Edwards and Lyndon Jones and company. Bill Green's ball club won 3 straight titles. This is the first year that a former champion is back with a chance to repeat.
It's been a long time, and certainly Ben Davis has a great chance. They have great momentum coming into this Final Four here, and should be very interesting to see how Lafayette Jeff comes out here and attacks Ben Davis earlier on in this ball game, Vince.
Lafayette Jeff, you see the Broncos, coached by Jim Hamill. He's made 2 previous appearances to the Final Four. Took Lake Central to the big dance in 1984, and then Lafayette Jeff was a runner-up in 1992 to the Richmond Red Devils, and the Jeff fans are here supporting their ball club. Over 25,000 expected at the RCA Dome for the boys high school basketball Final Four, and of course right back here tonight for the high school basketball championship. Let's join Scott Gregg, public address announcer at the RCA Dome, for the introduction of today's participants.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the RCA Dome in Indianapolis for the 86th annual Boys Basketball State Finals. Our first game this morning features the Lafayette Jefferson Broncos and the Ben Davis Giants. Here are your rosters and starting lineups for this morning's first game. First for the Lafayette Jeff Broncos. Number 11, Chris Mansfield. Number 34, Ryan Sexton. Number 35, Abe Honegger. Number 45, Mark Sattler. Number 53, Brad Knapp. Number 54, Matt Preuss. Number 55, Chris Dukes. And the starting lineup for the Broncos: at forward, a 6'2" junior, number 43, Kylie Watts. At forward, a 6'3" junior, number 33, Adam Dykhuizen. At center, a 6'4" senior, number 52, Neil Biggs. At guard, a 6' senior, number 42, Matt Riley. And at guard, a 5'11" senior, number 32, Carson Harris. Head coach of the 20-7 Broncos, Jim Hamill. And now your roster and starting lineup for the Ben Davis Giants. Number 10, Chet Washington. Number 20, Darren Graham. Number 22, Matt Clark. Number 24, Patrick Church. Number 34, Jelani Williams. Number 40, Antoine Carpenter. number 44, Virgil Akers. And the starting lineup for the Giants: at one guard, a 6' 1 inch senior, number 32, Keith Patterson. At the other guard, a 6' 2 inch senior, number 42, Jan Price.
Let's do this, y'all.
At forward, a 6' 4 inch junior, number 30, Don Carlisle. At forward, a 6' 1 inch senior, number 50, Jeff Horsel. And at center, a 6' 5 inch sophomore, number 54, Roy Fry. Head coach of the 20-6 Giants, Steve Whitty.
Those are your KeyBank starting lineups, and tip-off is next. Ben Davis and Lafayette Jeff. Vince Welch and George McGinnis from the RCA Dome in Indianapolis, anticipating the opening tip for Game 1 of the boys' state finals. George, how much of an importance is it that these teams get off to a good start here in this first game?
Well, I think it's certainly important for both teams, but especially I think for Lafayette Jeff. Ben Davis is a team that's on a roll, played a pretty tough schedule. This is the first time that I think Lafayette Jeff will face a team probably as tough as Ben Davis. So I think it's of utmost importance that both teams get off to a good start, but especially Lafayette Jeff.
The Broncos of Jeff in the road red uniforms, Ben Davis, the home team, in the white. Lafayette Jeff, of course, plays that difficult North Central Conference schedule, and Kokomo and Anderson, Newcastle, three teams that certainly were in the hunt down the stretch of the state tournament, battling the Broncos throughout the regular season. And the opening tip is controlled by Lafayette Jeff, and we are underway. The men in stripes working the game this morning, Jim Cox and Mark Hay wearing the whistles.
Ben Davis opens up in its familiar man-to-man defense.
And Keith Patterson rather picks up the foul on the reach around of Carson Harris. 17 seconds into the game, and Ben Davis hears its first whistle. The Giants in a man-to-man even off the inbounds as Carson Harris receives the basketball and will put it into play for Lafayette Jeff. And Patterson gets a hand on it and a steal as Jeff tried to work something for an easy shot underneath. Jan Price and now Don Carlisle, who wastes no time shooting the three.
Well, Carlisle's a good player, but you don't want him out shooting 3 points. He's not as effective for you out there.
Price had the steal but couldn't finish, and Jeff has the basketball, wasting no time getting to the offensive end. Inside pass, a little contact, shot off the mark by Watts, and it's pulled away by the senior Jan Price. And now Keith Patterson for Ben Davis. Roy Fry with his first touch and a shot. Carlisle works the inside boards, and there's a battle underneath, and now Carlisle is tagged with the foul. I think Ben Davis has taken some shots in the early going
very
that
questionable.
Coach Steve Whitty would rather not see.
Absolutely, and he is up out of his chair, pleading with his team, hey, come down. The way we got here is run our offense and look for good opportunity shots. Now, the last couple of times down, Ben Davis has kind of thrown it up very quickly.
Three on the way, nothing but net. It looked short from Dijkhuizen, but it drew nothing but net. And that's the perception that the Dome will give you sometimes. It's difficult to adjust to, and that's when these teams come in for their practice. They do majority of their workout is nothing but shooting.
That's exactly right. Not very much background here, so pretty open space back there. So for teams who've never been here before, there is an adjustment.
Inside, the first basket of the game for Ben Davis, and it's Carlisle.
That's an area where Ben Davis looks like they definitely have an advantage on the blocks, and probably be a good idea to attack that area.
Patterson, a guard, but one of the team's top rebounders. Price immediately finds Carlisle on the block.
Nice inside pass there by Jan Price. Carlisle easily, a little turnaround lay-in. Jeff has to do a better job of defending the paint.
Harris from way outside the arc, and Ben Davis has the numbers. Patterson misses, rebounded by Biggs, and that name is literal. Neil Biggs, 6'4", 250 pounds, will get his way inside. Ben Davis rarely comes out of its man-to-man defense.
Well, they don't allow you much there. They really do a good job of defending inside and out.
Blocked by Roy Fry, the sophomore. Fry walks with the basketball. Substitutions immediately for both ball clubs as players try to get their second win. For Ben Davis, Chet Washington, who had an outstanding semi-state. And also Virgil Akers, number 44, comes in for Ben Davis. And for Lafayette Jeff, number 34, Ryan Sexton, sees his first bit of action. And Sexton is an interesting story. His grandfather, Joe Sexton, the longtime coach at Butler and an outstanding high school player in his own right.
Well, Mr. Basketball, probably one of the great athletes that's ever played here in Indianapolis. I think he was a three-sport star.
And right off the bat, Sexton mishandles the basketball, so he'll try to get the nervous jitters out of his system, as Coach Jim Hamill rather, told me during the week that's one thing he feared is the pre-game anxieties and how long it takes to get those opening game jitters out of the way. See the miscue numbers. Poisel, Price, and now Washington. Jeff in a 2-3 zone defense, but they'll always keep an eye on Poisel, who is the team's leading three-point shooter for Ben Davis. In fact, it looks like more of a box-and-one against Poisel. Ben Davis tries the backdoor lob to Akers. Biggs clears it. Poisel gets a hand on it, out of bounds to Lafayette Jeff. Poisel, an outstanding football player. George mentioned in the open he's going to Western Kentucky to play football for Jack Harbaugh, and Colts quarterback Jim Harbaugh helped in the recruiting of Jeff Poisel, who's an outstanding place kicker.
Lafayette Jeff showing good patience here on the offense, even though we know they like to get up and down. They're pretty patient, looking for a good opportunity. Great inside pass. Looks like Briggs, a nice little turnaround.
Neil Biggs gets his first basket, and credit Chris Dubes with a nice find inside. Chet Washington has it rejected by Carson Harris. Harris, the co-captain of the team, and is an outstanding player on both ends of the court.
See, Ben Davis is playing a double low post as we take a look at the nice block shot there. And what allowed Jeff to do is the man on the other side of the post can help out on an inside pass.
Off the turnover, Harris misses the lay-in. Offensive putback, Kylie Watts.
Jeff doing an excellent job of attacking the offensive glass. That time a couple of opportunities, and Watts is able to get it back in.
Lafayette Jeff now in a man-to-man after trying a box-and-one, and Chet Washington penetrates.
Well, after you score, Jeff gets it out quickly and looks for an easy opportunity.
Watts baseline, it's shut off. All ball on the defense, out of bounds to the Broncos. Substitution, the sophomore Roy Fry comes back in for Ben Davis. Virgil Akers.
Roy a little excited, and Woody wanted to get him out just to calm him down a little bit. Say, hey, get inside. That's where you're most effective for us.
Chris Dubes, 6'2", 235-pound senior, one of the co-captains on this ball club, gets his first hoop, and Lafayette Jeff has 4 different players in the scorebook. Jeff has switched up its defense. Nice backdoor to Poisel. Misses the shot. Carlisle with his 6th point.
Carlisle doing a very nice job inside, has been able to kind of have his way down there. Good offensive rebound.
Jeff does a nice job offensively of spreading the floor.
Yeah, they really do. They spread it really nice. They got a nice mix of inside, outside. As we saw Briggs again getting the ball inside. He's got a big body, about 245 pounds, and he's able to use it well and getting the deuce.
Biggs has 4. Lafayette Jeff leads by 3. Jan Price can hit the shot from beyond the arc, but he's off the mark on this first attempt, and Carson Harris mishandles it out of bounds. Timeout. 2:03 to play in the first. Game 1 of the state finals from the RCA Dome. The Lafayette fans have much to cheer about in the early going. 4 different players have scored for the Broncos, and Lafayette Jeff leads Ben Davis by 3. The gentleman there in the middle, Bob Hamill, longtime sports editor at the Bloomington Herald-Times, and of course the brother of Lafayette coach Jim Hamill.
Great man there. He just got the Silver Medal Award for Hall of Fame here the other night. I happened to be down there and hear him speak. He did a great job. He's a wonderful guy.
A pair of Ben Davis misses from Jan Price and Chet Washington. Carson Harris coast to coast.
Boy, beautiful work by Carson Harris. He's taking it coast to coast, and you got to get a look at his great athleticism there.
Had 21 in this championship game of the semi-state against Gary Wallace.
Don't you get the sense that Jeff is settling down a little bit? They came out a little bit nervous. Now they're kind of got their feet under themselves. They're playing with a little bit more poise and confidence.
Virgil Akers, the second attempt, and Ben Davis has missed some shots just a couple of feet away from the basket. Giants extending the defensive pressure.
Look at the great spacing by Jeff. Well, they do a good job of spreading that court and getting some good activity off the ball.
Poisel has not had many open looks in the early going. Lafayette Jeff really laying off the Ben Davis big people out on the perimeter.
When Roy Fry comes up to the free throw line to receive the ball, he's not getting any kind of attention. They're almost daring him to shoot that. They want him to shoot, but again, he gives it up and gets back on the blocks where he's most effective.
Mark Sattler into the ball game for Lafayette Jeff, and Keith Patterson returns for Ben Davis. Lafayette Jeff has done a nice job of keeping a defender in the face of Jeff Poisel every step he takes. Jan Price, first basket for Ben Davis's leading scorer. Perimeter shot off the mark, lands on the inline, out of bounds to Ben Davis.
Well, again, after you score against Lafayette Jeff, they really look to get the ball out of bounds quickly and look for an opportunity. And of course, that time Harris, with the three-point shot, wasn't able to get it down out of bounds. Ben Davis.
Jeff defended the inbounds with some full court pressure. We're inside of a half minute to go in the first quarter. Virgil Akers misses the shot. And then Akers commits the foul. You know, Ben Davis is the team with all the experience here at the RCA Dome, but the Giants look like they're in a completely different environment as far as shooting is concerned.
Absolutely. The most comfortable team and confident team right now has got to be Lafayette Jeff. And they're doing a really good job in saying, hey, big guys, we're going to give you that little 15-footer, but you're not going to beat us inside. That time Akers takes an ill-advised shot. Again, that's not what Ben Davis should be looking for. They should be looking to get something inside.
Here's Don Carlisle back for Ben Davis. As you get a good look at Neil Biggs, the 6'4" senior center for Lafayette Jeff, has also returned to the lineup for the Broncos. When Biggs and Dubes are both in there at the same time, you've got about over 500 pounds worth of weight to throw around in the paint.
A lot of beef. But they use it well.
Lafayette Jeff holding for the final shot of the quarter. Harris, nice head fake. Jelani Williams, who's just checked in. Ben Davis has a time to get off a shot. Patterson will shoot it, blocked from behind, and that's the first quarter. Lafayette Jeff impressive through the initial period, and the Broncos lead by 3. a beautiful RCA dome, and you see the largeness of the dome is causing some problems early on. Let's take a look at Virgil Akers, the Ben Davis big man, who just really hasn't found the range from the perimeter. And you were maybe a little bit surprised. Ben Davis certainly the team that is the most familiar with the RCA dome, and yet the giant big man. Look at Akers.
Well, a lot of credit, I think, goes to Coach Jim Hamill. He's doing a good job. He's saying, hey, big guys, you know, if you beat me, you're going to beat me from outside. And again, Ben Davis is taking those shots and really should be looking to get into better offensive position to get better opportunities.
Lafayette Jeff in a matchup zone, keeping an eye on Jan Price. The shot from Jelani Williams is off the mark, and here comes Lafayette Jeff.
Lafayette Jeff doing a great job of sealing out on the defensive boards.
Way downtown, off the mark from Ryan Sexton. Inside on the post, and a good look pass for Patterson, but was off the mark. Knocked away. Jan Price. Jelani Williams getting some key minutes for Ben Davis, number 34, and that hasn't always been the case for Williams. Just a junior.
Ben Davis still trying to figure out this defense of Jess. It's kind of got him confused a little bit. A good idea would be put the ball in the hands of Jan Price and let him make some things happen. Again, another missed shot by the Giants.
Williams misfired from the baseline. Broncos trying to pound it inside, and Biggs working on Roy Fry for position, and now has it. Fry bumps him inside.
Biggs does a nice job of bodying up down low. That time creating some contact. He's going to get a two-shot opportunity. Good delivery of the ball, good seal, and as we see, Carlisle reaches in there. Again, Jeff doing a great job. I love the way they run their offense. They look for the quick opportunities, but boy, if they don't have them, they do a nice job of getting into their offense and get great activity off the ball.
See Dykusen back into the ball game for Lafayette Jeff, one of Jim Hamill's starters, as Chris Dubes goes to the sideline, and also for Lafayette Jeff is Kylie Watts. Chet Washington returns to the Ben Davis lineup as Carlisle goes to the bench with 6 points. Neil Biggs had 24 in the semi-state championship game against Gary Wallace.
For a big guy, he's got a nice soft touch. Good looking stroke there from the free throw stripe.
Biggs, an all-state tackle on the football team, has 6 points. With some sticky pressure from Lafayette Jeff, Jan Price has it knocked away, retrieves the loose ball, and then is pushed from behind, and Dykusen will get the personal. There's a good look at Adam. Jan Price, the senior, fighting for the ball.
Well, look at all the help that comes from the Lafayette Jeff players. You see how they attack the ball? It's good work as Dykusen comes over the top for the foul.
Chet Washington. Own rebound. And Jeff's big men clear the way again. It's Biggs with another board.
Ben Davis just not able to get anything to go.
Washington knocks it away, but is called for the foul.
Kind of hit a dry spell, and of course Jeff's doing a great job of defending. Ben Davis having a tough time putting some points on the board, Vince.
Jelani Williams goes to the sideline, and Jeff Poisel, Ben Davis's outside shooter, returns to the game, but Lafayette Jeff has done a nice job defensively on Poisel so far. Good interior pass. Biggs has it knocked away, but Dykusen retrieves it and then is fouled by Jan Price. Ben Davis getting beaten inside.
Well, you know, one of the keys for Jeff was, you know, let's not be afraid. Let's attack Ben Davis. And what Jeff has done the last 3 or 4 times down is really try and take the ball into Neil Biggs and let him operate. And that time he had the ball blocked, but Dykusen comes up with it, and he's going to get a 2-shot opportunity. Good work.
Dykusen, you'll look at him on the close-up. Does his nose look a little crooked? He had his nose broken in the semi-state against Plainfield. One shot to the nose will certainly get his attention at any point today, and the way these teams are scrambling for it, that wouldn't be a surprise to see some contact. Poisel was wide open while Lafayette Jeff adjusted defensively, but the Giants couldn't find him.
Well, this defense has just really affected Ben Davis. Poisel has not had a shot opportunity this game.
Patterson battles for the ball after the missed shot, and Lafayette Jeff again retrieves. And now Chet Washington has picked up his second foul, trying to defend Carson Harris. Well, Ben Davis doesn't look to have the touch around the basket at all here in the early going.
They're chipping paint right now. They're going to have to just settle down, get into their offense, and find a way to attack that tough defensive pressure that Jeff has put forth thus far.
Lafayette Jeff just exchanging big men as Biggs goes to the sideline and Chris Dubes replaces him. Well, they certainly don't lose much in size when they make that substitution. Carson Harris will get a second. It's the largest lead of the game. Lafayette Jeff by 7.
You know, Vince, one of the great ways and probably the best way to create scoring opportunities for yourself is on the defensive end. So, you know, it might not be a bad idea for Ben Davis to pick up full court, try and put a little defensive pressure on Jeff and come up with some turnovers and see if they can turn them into points and get some confidence going here.
Darren Graham and Antoine Carpenter into the ball game for Ben Davis, and those two have seen minutes for the Giants, but not the kind of quality minutes in the tournament that Steve Whitty needs from that pair right now. Second quarter action from the RCA Dome. Vince Welch and George McGinnis back at the RCA Dome. Let's check in with Ron Sexton.
Vince, during this last time out, Ben Davis head coach Steve Whitty was pleading with his team to play as a team. He said they did not get to the Final Four with a bunch of heroes, and he said so far that is all he has seen, or attempts to be heroes, here in the first quarter.
The Ben Davis Giants shooting just 18%.
Wow.
5 of 28 as we are in the early stages of the second.
And you got to give Jeff a lot of credit for the defense that they're applying here. They've done an excellent job, and Ben Davis just has not been able to figure it out.
Darren Graham, Antoine Carpenter, Jan Price, Jeff Poisel, and Roy Fry for Ben Davis. Lafayette Jeff counters with Ryan Sexton, who just clears the rebound, and Carson Harris in the backcourt with Dykusen, Dubes, and Watts up front. Sexton for 3.
Oh, yeah. Ryan Sexton fills it up from behind the stripes, and Ben Davis is slowly getting themselves in some serious trouble here, down 21-10, Vince.
Whistle, travel, turnover, Ben Davis. The 4th of the game, and Jim Hamill's ball club from Lafayette Jeff has run off 8 unanswered points to open the second quarter.
Well, Jeff, a very well coached team. You got to give Jim Harrell a lot of credit. One thing he told me is that his kids were really scrappy and they played hard. They've won by committee this year.
Carson Harris has it knocked away out of bounds. Lafayette Jeff will get the basketball back. Trying to work something off the inbounds underneath, can't get it. Forces one from the baseline, and the rebound pulled away by Graham. Jan Price to the basket.
Yeah.
Misses.
Wow.
Poisel tips, and the Giants are not finishing. Darren Graham whistled for the foul. Jan Price will make that shot 19 times out of 20, but that's typical of the way Ben Davis has shot the ball from the field in the early going.
Well, I certainly hope he makes that most of the time, because most players should. That's a point-blank lay-in, and just a lack of concentration again.
Ben Davis.
Jeff has got Ben Davis on their heels, clearly.
Ben Davis 0 of 9 from the floor here in the second quarter. As Ryan Sexton misses the front into the 1-and-1. Offensive rebound. Count the basket. Dubes with the hoop and foul.
Jeff just dominating play. Time Dubes again able to fight and get in by inside position. Look, he's nice little spin move. Comes up with the rebound. Pump fake. The hoop +1. Excellent play.
10 straight points for Lafayette Jeff, and the advantage for the Broncos is 13. Dubes has 5. Ben Davis needs to get something going underneath the basket, and there's Fry finally hitting.
Now you can see Ben Davis trying to put a little full court pressure with Carpenter. Jeff is excellent in their offensive set. Look at the good spacing.
Well, they spread the floor tremendously well.
Absolutely. And watch the activity off the ball. Look at there. Boy, just a little bit high.
Kylie Watts had his hand on it, but couldn't haul it in. Good look, though, from Harris. It's easy to shake those off when you're leading by 12.
You bet it is.
See what Jeff has done over the last 5 minutes. And opening this one up. Antoine Carpenter and Darren Graham getting quality minutes in the backcourt for Ben Davis.
Well, Poisel is just really showing some frustration. He hasn't had any kind of opportunity here.
Graham can't hit on the penetration. Dijkhuizen has it knocked away, and Roy Fry then picks it up before being fouled from Dijkhuizen. And I think Ben Davis maybe now trying to do some of the little things that might get him turned around.
Absolutely. It's the little intangibles, loose balls and things which Jeff has had all of it their way here in his first half. They're able to avoid a charging foul. And look at the good work. Graham stays after the ball, comes up with it, and there's a foul there by Jeff. So Ben Davis clearly has to make some things happen.
Poisel, first three-point attempt.
And that's certainly a way to get it done, is try and get this guy a few looks at the bucket. He's a great shooter.
Now Poisel turns it up defensively. Inside the bigs, he walked. At the 3-minute mark, Ben Davis has cut the deficit to 9, and the Giants try to turn the momentum, which is clearly on Lafayette Jeff's side.
Well, there's still plenty of time left in this first half of play. Ben Davis can take their time, come down, and really get some quality shots. They've had this thing 7, 8 points at halftime. They'll be in good position.
And Graham gives some much-needed offense. Graham averages just 2 a game. He's got his deuce, and Lafayette Jeff wants a timeout. Ben Davis has run off 7 straight to cut the gap. We don't really see it there.
No.
Jeff Poisel has averaged almost 16 a game over the past 2 weeks, but this is his first good look this morning.
First look, good luck. He comes clean, and he pulls the trigger quickly, and he's able to get it to go. Now, Ben Davis desperately needs to find ways to get this guy more opportunities.
Here's a good look at Poisel. Ben Davis over the past 2 minutes has scored 7 straight, but that is on the heels of an 11-point run by the Broncos of Lafayette Jeff.
Well, it's important that you keep yourself in striking distance. You don't want to get too far down. That's a big hill to have to climb in the second half of play.
Roy Fry, last touched by Biggs, out of bounds. Ben Davis switched up the defense, coming out trying to trap half court. And Lafayette Jeff threw it away, trying to get it inside. Darren Graham, outstanding football player, wide receiver on Dick Delahan's ball club. Carpenter dribbles inside and finds Jan Price for 3. Poisel the putback. Again.
boy, excellent work by Jeff Poisel. Ben Davis got a pretty good look from young Price, wide open. Poisel does a good job of going after the offensive board. He got 2 opportunities and got the second one down.
Biggs tied up, but a foul. And Steve Woody can't believe it as Darren Graham reached in.
Boy, Woody doesn't like the call. Let's take a look and see if we can see if there was any contact as Biggs gets it inside. Carpenter definitely reaches in there, and boy, just you do that. That's a good call by the official.
Anytime you reach,
yeah, they're going to get
whether you get any arm with it or not, you're often going to be whistled for the foul. As you see a substitution, Matt Riley back into the ball club for Lafayette Jeff.
I guess the referees interpret that as, well, you were intended to foul. It was your intent to foul if you reach, so you never reach.
Biggs misses both free throws, leaving the door open for Ben Davis to reduce the deficit even more. Graham with some key play off the bench for Steve Woody.
Graham has given Ben Davis quite a lift on both ends of the court.
Graham started some games late in the season, and he's really lifted the Giants here in the second quarter. Poisel has it stolen by Carson Harris. To the basket. Biggs.
Oh, man. Biggs does a great job. Harris a little bit out of control there, but again, Biggs is there and delivers a nice little putback.
Biggs has 8. The lead is 4.
That stopped a pretty good Ben Davis run there.
The Giants had scored 12 straight as Carpenter misses. The Lafayette Jeff here in the final minute of the half clings to a 4-point lead.
Let's see if Jeff pulls it back and looks for one opportunity with about 35 seconds to go here before halftime.
Graham and Carpenter really get out and defend.
Yeah, they really do. They're looking to take the last opportunity here. They just want to make sure they've got a 4-point lead, that they're going to at least go in the locker room with that, if not more.
Smart play, especially considering the run. Ben Davis has been on. Dukes inside.
Great look. Excellent execution of the offense by Lafayette Jeff.
Final shot of the half. Carpenter. A 2-pointer. Gives Ben Davis a lift going to the locker room. 28-24. Jim Hamill is with Ron Sexton.
Coach, what are your thoughts going into halftime?
That's a big basket for Ben Davis right there at the end. You know, we withstood a run there, then we gave him a big bucket. But you know, we played well defensively. We just got to get it cranked up offensively.
Best of luck to you.
Thanks,
Vincent George.
Thank you very much, Ron, and some interesting thoughts from Jim Hamill. And as he said, the big basket right before the half. Antoine Carpenter gets it down for Steve Woody's Ben Davis Ball Club. And I tell you what, some key moments for Carpenter and Graham off the bench for Steve Woody. Let's join public address announcer Scott Gregg for a special presentation at halftime here at the RCA Dome.
Ladies and gentlemen, since 1989, more than 17,000 Hoosier High School students have used their creativity to express views on important social issues through Project XL, a competition created and funded by Farm Bureau Insurance in cooperation with the IHSAA. This year, students from over 170 schools across the state explored the question, what makes you who you are? Now, please join with me as we honor the Project XL state champions. Each winner will receive a $1,500 scholarship and a trophy presented by Don Henderson, CEO of Farm Bureau Insurance, Patricia Paler, Senior Vice President of Farm Bureau Insurance, Bob Gardner, IHSAA Commissioner, and George McGinnis, Project XL Ambassador and basketball legend in the state of Indiana. Your Project XL champion in the writing category, Karis Davis of Speedway High School.
Just walk around me and go behind Jeremy. Good.
The first place winner in the poster category, Aaron Brasher Jr. of J. Everett Light Career Center, Indianapolis.
Yes.
Champions in the video art category, which is a partner entry, were Todd Emmert, Adrian Day, and Brandy Ford of Fort Wayne Snyder High School. The state champion in the fine art category, Brooke Marks, Elkhart Central High School. State champion in the performance category and winner of the 1996 Best of Show, Jeremy Plummer, Wawasee High School. And ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for the 1996 Project XL state champions, and also please recognize second and third place winners that are seated in sections floor 6 and 7 here in the Dome. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for these outstanding young people of the state of Indiana.
It's halftime. Ben Davis and Lafayette Jeff, the Broncos, by 4. Game 1 of the state finals from the RCA Dome. And knocked down a big 3 at that point and helped put Lafayette Jeff up by 14.
Well, one of the things that Jeff does on the offensive end is they get excellent spacing, as we see Ryan Sexton knocks down a wide open opportunity from the perimeter. Now coming back on the other end, we're going to take a look at Darren Graham, who really gave Ben Davis a big lift, and Ben Davis, of course, with a little 12-point run of their own, was able to close that deficit to 4 points there at halftime.
And then Antoine Carpenter hits the shot just as the horn sounds. His foot was on the line. It's a 2-pointer, but that really tightened the gap, and it's a 4-point game at halftime. Well, look at the first half statistics. Ben Davis really struggled in the early going. At one point, Ben Davis was 5 of 28 from the floor, so you see the Giants heated up a bit after that, but still 27% shooting hurt.
That's not acceptable from a team that's played as well and with the momentum that Ben Davis has. And then you take a look at the free throws. Jeff has 10, Ben Davis has none. Jeff is doing a good job of taking the ball inside consistently to bigs, and if he's not getting points, he's getting fouled.
Let's go now and join Ron Sexton. He's standing by with Ben Davis coach Steve Whitty.
Thank you, Vince. Coach, what are your thoughts now just before the break?
Well, it wasn't a very well played first half on our part. They're executing their game plan a lot better than we are, and if we don't wake up, it's going to be a long day.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Vince, maybe they were too comfortable in that comfort zone at Hinkle Fieldhouse. They were there for quite some time in tournament play.
Well, I'm sure Steve Whitty woke them up at halftime. It's a 4-point game. The third quarter is next. You're watching the state championship boys finals, game 1 from the RCA Dome. Third quarter from the RCA Dome in Indianapolis. Lafayette Jeff and Ben Davis. The Giants with Keith Patterson, Jan Price, Jeff Poisel, Don Carlisle, and Roy Fry, the team's original starters. And the same can be said for Lafayette Jeff, with Watts, Carson Harris, Neil Biggs, and I stand corrected, Chris Dubes in instead of Matt Riley. So Lafayette Jeff, Coach Jim Hamill, opens up with a little extra size inside.
They have consistently in the first half looked to get the ball inside the bigs, and that's exactly where they start the second half. And Biggs doesn't get the hoop, but he gets a 2-shot opportunity. And that's why Jeff has shot 10 free throws and Ben Davis has shot none.
Jan Price picks up the foul for Ben Davis, and that is number 2 on Price. And Jan thought he had the defensive position. Not so, says the official. And Neil Biggs, who averages 13.5 points and almost 7 rebounds a game, steps to the line. Having some trouble from the free throw strike today. Just a 62% shooter on the year. Biggs is 0 for 3. Biggs, the game's leading scorer, 9 points. Just underway, third quarter. Vince Welch and George McGinnis from the RCA Dome in Indianapolis.
Let's see if Ben Davis can get Poisel. Good left there. He comes off a double screen, but boy, Sexton is just all over him. Now he's going to have to do a better job of working to get himself open.
Sexton, as you said, is playing great defense on Poisel. Now Poisel has the basketball and wastes no time looking to the basket. A bump inside, foul on Chris Dukes as he and Carlisle collided underneath. Poisel doesn't have the quickest release, so he needs a little bit of room, and Lafayette Jeff just hasn't given it to him.
Absolutely, and he needs to get his feet underneath him, so when he catches, he needs to catch and gather and release, and that just takes a second or two, but boy, Sexton's not giving him that much time.
Chet Washington into the lineup for Ben Davis, and Jan Price is going to go to the sidelines for Steve Woody. Chet Washington gives Ben Davis a little more quickness in the backcourt and also allows Price to get a breather. Inside pass to Carlisle. 8 for Carlisle.
See, I think that's where Ben Davis attacks initially, and then off of that, you know, you're going to get double, triple team. Then you can look for your outside people to knock down some open opportunities.
Sexton can shoot from out there. Biggs offensive rebound.
Man, I tell you what, he does an excellent job positioning himself down low. He is just awful tough on the blocks.
Ben Davis trying to generate some offense as both teams have opened with baskets here in the third. Washington is trapped, but Patterson finds an opening. Roy Fry back to Patterson.
Yeah, good give and go. Good work there by the Giants, and Patterson able to get a lay-in.
Sexton for 3.
Ryan Sexton's aggressive at both ends. Pretty good shooter from the perimeter, Vince.
He came off the bench this morning, but started a lot of games for Jim Hamill this season. And he's hit a couple of big three-pointers here this morning. Chet Washington draws some contact. And the guard will go to the line for Steve Woody. Carson Harris picks up the personal. Chet Washington's an interesting story for Ben Davis. He played very well in the semi-state, totaled 32 points for Steve Woody's ball club, and was a member of the all-semi-state team. But Washington didn't play particularly well in the sectional or the regional, as he had bronchitis late in the regular season and just didn't bounce back from it as well as he had hoped, but really looked healthy in the semi-state.
You bet he did.
Missed a pair of free throws, but Carlisle chased it down, and Ben Davis has another opportunity.
So Ben Davis needs to try and look to get the ball inside now.
Patterson tried to use the board from the baseline, and Ben Davis gets lucky because Lafayette Jeff fails to handle the ball. Lafayette Jeff's average margin of victory in the tournament, 14.7 points per game. That's the largest in the Final Four.
Well, since the tournament began, clearly I think Ben Davis will be, if not the best, one of the best teams that Jeff has played. Again, Ben Davis getting some points out of the paint area. They need to continue to attack there.
Fry has 4, and it's a 4-point game. While Lafayette Jeff won its tournament games by the largest margin of victory, Ben Davis had the smallest margin of victory at 8.5 as Biggs can't get it down from the block. Washington straight to the basket, but blocked by Carson Harris. And Harris gets touted for his offense a lot, but boy, he's a good defensive player.
Woody does not like this call. He jumps out of his seat. Let's take a look as Chet. It's a little bit of contact there. Again, let's see if Ben Davis continues to attack down low.
Sexton chasing Poisel. He's had very few good looks at the basket. Keith Patterson can't get it, but Carlisle, who's been the most effective Giant, had a good look, but he couldn't get it down either, and then Washington was called for the walk. Don Carlisle's got to make that shot 2 feet from the basket.
That's just an easy little lay-in, point-blank range. You got to get them down, and boy, that 2 points you didn't get, now you give your opponent an opportunity to put more points on the board.
Lafayette Jeff has done a nice job spreading the floor in this ball game, and
they really have. They have done one thing, and they have looked to take it down inside the bigs because he can deliver for him. He's done a great job.
A little too patient that time. The 5-second count whistled against Jim Hamill's ball club, and that's the 11th turnover. Hamill was the All-Stars coach in 1993, but he says his biggest thrill was winning his first sectional championship. That was back in 1977 in Mooresville. Been around a long time. Has had the pleasure to coach his sons, Chip and Richie, at Lafayette Jeff. Fry, the pass intended for Fry, but stolen by Biggs and then knocked away by Washington. Biggs really moves well for a young man of his size. As substitutions come into the ball game. 35 is Abe Honiger.
He not only moves well, Vince, but he really does a good job of positioning himself. He has a really good understanding of his position and how to play it, and that's why he's effective.
Carson Harris on the strong dribble, bumped by Washington and whistled for the foul as Chet Washington. Darren Graham comes in for Ben Davis. Keith Patterson goes to the sideline, and Graham gave Steve Whitty some good minutes in that first half.
He sure did, some quality minutes, and it's been a different person for Ben Davis and each step along the way in terms of contributing, and Graham did a wonderful job here in the first half.
Graham comes into the ball game and gets the defensive assignment on Carson Harris. Washington has Poisel open for the layup. Missed it. Washington follows.
Good follow by Chet. Never giving up on that play. Jeff Poisel again missing wide open lay-ins. Ben Davis has got to do a better job.
It's a 2-point game. Abe Honiger whistled for the walk. Jim Hamill says, come off the screen and be ready to shoot.
That's right.
Here's a good look at Honiger and his sister, Rachel, an Indiana All-Star from Lafayette Jeff.
I wonder is she better than he is.
Huh? I'm sure they've had quite a few battles maybe out in the driveway through the years.
Well, now Ben Davis can tie or take the lead, and then if in fact that happens, it will be very interesting to see how Jeff reacts. They've kind of had their way here most of this ball game.
Ben Davis has never led today. Fry hits. It's tied at 34. Turnover.
Look at that. Jeff throws the ball away. Need to get rattled at this point.
Darren Graham. Poisel battles for the rebound. Jeff Poisel doesn't have the best leaping ability, but he has found a way inside. He's open for 3. Biggs clears it. Thrown away again. Lafayette Jeff losing its bearings. Washington hits. The first lead of the game for Ben Davis.
Again, turnovers lead to points. Jeff with 2 ill-advised passes, one from out of bounds. And this one here, Biggs falling down. And who recovers? Chet Washington, the lead. And he gets the bucket, plus the foul. Good play for Ben Davis. Now Jeff needs to be real careful here to keep their poise.
There's also been a technical foul called for the use of profanity on the court.
Boy, that's not good. That ends up being a 2-shot penalty for the technical, plus the one for Chet Washington. So that's 3 free throws and the ball out of bounds, if in fact that was a call.
Yes, it was. Carson Harris called for the technical. Washington misses the free throw to attempt to convert the 3-point play, and now Jeff Poisel steps to the line to shoot the technical shots.
Boy, Jeff dodging a bullet. Ben Davis has missed 2 of the 3. This is why I tell you, talk about free throw shooting being so important, and Ben Davis not able to convert on either 3 of the shots there.
Jim Hamill's Jeff Broncos dodge a bullet as Ben Davis misses 3 straight free throws, but the Giants are on top. Ben Davis with its first lead since very early in the game. The Giants have done it with 8 unanswered points here in the mid stages of the 3rd quarter.
Boy, Ben Davis missed a big opportunity there, missed 3 consecutive free throws. Again, it's the little things in games this big that really make the difference, and boy, you just don't hope that them free throws don't come back to hurt this Ben Davis team. But again, they also get the ball out of bounds.
The Giants working it against the Lafayette Jeff pressure. Jeff Poisel misses, but Darren Graham tips it in.
Excellent balance by Graham. Good lift. Elevation.
Back comes Jeff. A blocking foul. Graham underneath. Mark Statler into the ball game for Lafayette Jeff. He's joined by Abe Honiger, Chris Dubes, Carson Harris, and Ryan Sexton.
Graham is 3rd. Team foul number 3. Hey guys, 2.
Toughest call for an official to make, the charge or the block.
2 shots.
Statler has not seen much action. And he gets up and shoots that free throw with a lot of confidence.
Got some quality minutes in the Plainfield game, the opener of Semi-State, when Dykusen broke his nose, and he stepped in and played very well for Jim Hamill's ball club. That's why you work hard all season in practice, to have an opportunity to deliver when you get a chance, and Jeff Poisel connects again for Ben Davis. If the outside shot's not going to be there, we might see Poisel go inside more. Battle inside. Dubes comes away with it. Carson Harris will shoot the 3. And Don Carlisle, who has had a good game offensively, has the rebound.
Now Jeff's getting away from what was most effective for them, and that's getting the ball in the post position. I know that Biggs is out of the ball game right now, but Chris Dubes is in there, and he does a good job. And here comes Biggs as we speak.
Biggs comes back into the ball game. Ben Davis making some substitutions. There's Darren Graham going to the sideline, and Chet Washington also comes out of the ball game. Ben Davis counters with Antoine Carpenter and Matt Clark, as you see Adam Dykusen coming in, replacing Mark Sattler. Now, Matt Clark of Ben Davis is an interesting story. Started on the Giants team last year in the state championship game. As more Lafayette Jeff substitutions come in, Kylie Watts returning. But there have been times in this season when Clark hasn't played a single minute of a game, as was the case at the semi-state, but now he's in defending Kylie Watts. Knocked away. Ben Davis again takes advantage of some quick hands. Clark looks at the three-pointer, but doesn't want to shoot at his first touch. Carpenter isn't so shy. Lafayette Jeff finds the open man inside, but it's blocked as Biggs attempts to get it in.
Well, good defense by Ben Davis. The Giants need to come down and get a good quality shot.
Clark. His first 2 points, and to be able to come in and knock down one right away after having not played in so long says a lot about the senior, Matt Clark.
Ben Davis has clearly established itself here in the third quarter of play, asserting their will upon this Lafayette Jeff team, and with 25 seconds they need to hold for the final shot.
Ben Davis with 20 points here in the third quarter. The Giants trailed by as many as 14 at one point. Roy Fry inside.
Well, Fry had the first opportunity. I have no idea why he went on the other side of the bucket, but Jeff needs to score here. Only 1 second, they need to get it up.
Carson Harris, not the shot the Broncos wanted at the end as he rushes it to the basket, and Ben Davis has opened an 8-point lead. Phoenix 200 qualifications live on Indy TV at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Ben Davis outscored Lafayette Jeff 20-8 in the third quarter. And the Giants enjoy their largest lead of the day, 8 points after trailing by as many as 14. Lafayette Jeff, George, I thought in the third quarter really got away from their game.
They really looked to take too many quick perimeter shots and did not concentrate on getting it down low consistently as they did the whole first half. And of course, Ben Davis picked up the defensive pressure, was able to come up with some turnovers that they turned into points.
Whistle and a foul. Kylie Watts caught for the reach.
Well, you know, Ben Davis got down by 8 points, was able to put together a nice little run. Now, let's see what this Jeff team is made of. And, you know, they've been a scrappy team all year, and they've really worked hard for Coach Jim Hamill. So we'll see if they're able to put together a nice little run to get themselves back into this ball game.
Lob in for Roy Fry.
Nice find by Roy Fry. Good catch by Fry, but great pass by Clark.
Biggs inside. And now Lafayette Jeff can't seem to put the ball in the basket. Ben Davis had that problem early in the game. Steve Liddy has been able to go to his bench a little deeper even than normal, trying to rest some of his regulars in this first game.
You're Ben Davis at this point. You just want to take your time. There's no shot clock. You just want to make sure you get a great opportunity every time down, just like that when as Carlisle puts that one in.
Carlisle has 10, leading scorer of the ball game. Credit Matt Clark of Ben Davis. Not only is he defending Carson Harris on this end of the floor as Chris Dubes hits the three-pointer.
Big three there by Dubes.
But Clark is also finding the open man on the offensive end for the Giants. That three-pointer from Dubes couldn't have come at a bigger time. He has just 12 three-pointers all season.
Again, Ben Davis being patient. Plenty of time.
Clark gave a good look at the three-pointer, but in Lafayette Jeff, George, the defensive pressure isn't quite as intense as we saw earlier.
They're in a little zone, and they're going to eventually have to come out of that and come out and really get after Ben Davis man-to-man. But again, Ben Davis a little bit quicker, so that's going to create problems for him as well.
Biggs beat his man to the ball, and Carson Harris took it to the basket for a hoop. Harris's first basket since the first quarter. He had 2 free throws in the second, but didn't score at all in the third, and a whistle and a foul against Lafayette Jeff.
Harris has done a nice job of controlling play, but he really hasn't put very many points on the board for Jeff, and certainly would be a big plus if he could give them a little bit more of this offense.
Averages 14 points a game. He has just 6 here this afternoon. Timeout. Game 1, semifinal action of the boys' state finals from the RCA Dome. The DuPont Basis Herbicide game summary. Lafayette Jeff only 8 points in the third quarter as the Broncos lost their lead and were really out-rebounded. The offensive rebounding numbers show Ben Davis with 19 boards and Lafayette Jeff with just 7. The Giants have really played well the last half of the second quarter and the entire third period. The Giants were awesome.
Familiar face there, huh?
Dick Luger.
Senator Dick Luger, who's quite a basketball fan.
And was the mayor in Indianapolis when your team won the championship in '69.
One of the highlights for our '69 team was getting to go to his office and take pictures.
Ben Davis with just under 6 minutes to play. Jan Price misses, and Neil Biggs, who has really done a job off the glass for Coach Hamill, clears. Sexton misses, and Ben Davis wastes no time getting to the offensive end. Price.
Great decision there by Chet Washington. Little 2-on-1. Nice execution of the bounce pass.
It's the second basket of the game for Jan Price, the team's leading scorer. Biggs touched it last. It'll go out of bounds to Ben Davis. George, the Giants have just turned this game around from trailing by 14 midway through the second quarter. Ben Davis has just owned Jim Hamill's Broncos since that point.
Well, they've done a good job defensively because Lafayette's got nothing from the perimeter. Of course, Sexton's been able to get down a couple threes, but they've done a great job of giving Lafayette Jeff only one shot opportunity also.
Ben Davis has picked up the tempo, getting the ball up the court in transition, and then making and taking advantage of good shooting opportunities.
So they're going to make Jeff come out of this zone. And they're just going to say, hey, unless you come out and get me man-to-man, we're just going to play footsie here for a while, and we're going to take some time off the clock, which really hurts you, Lafayette Jeff. So you're eventually going to have to come out and play me as they have now. Now, Ben Davis has a little bit better quickness than Jeff, as witnessed by Jan Price being able to get right around his man off the bounce with the pull-up jumper.
Price with a half dozen. Ben Davis with an 11-point lead, but it's quickly trimmed to 9 as Biggs converts. 13 points for Neil Biggs. Lafayette Jeff with Sexton, Honegger, Biggs, Dubes, and Carson Harris. Ben Davis has Washington, Price, Clark, Carlisle, and Virgil Akers. Akers hacked inside. Chris Dubes whistled for the personal. The bonus in effect.
Now, Ben Davis is really going to have to do a better job at the free throw line. Now, they're in the 1-and-1 bonus, and they are not what I would call a really good free throw shooting team. So if they start missing a couple, you can look for Jeff to almost intentionally put these guys on the line, especially as time winds down in this game, and they're able to tighten this gap a little bit.
You saw Jeff Poisel come into the game for Ben Davis, replacing Matt Clark, and Clark received a well-deserved round of applause from his Ben Davis followers. Akers misses the front end of the bonus. Dubes open for 3.
Well, he had a good look at it, just wasn't able to get it down. Quality shot.
Ben Davis lost 3 All-Star team members from their ball club a year ago. Courtney James, of course, went to Minnesota. James Patterson is off to Northern Illinois, and Damon Frierson, who's Mr. Basketball last year, is at Miami of Ohio. As Poisel steals, so the teams trade turnovers.
3 Division I players too, Vince.
Courtney James at Minnesota and Damon Frierson at Miami of Ohio played in the NIT this year, and Northern Illinois made its way to the NCAA tournament. So 3 key ingredients for this Ben Davis team playing Division I basketball, and yet the Giants have made their way back to the RCA Dome as Washington is fouled from behind. Carson Harris whistled for the reach. And Roy Fry comes back in for Ben Davis. Virgil Akers has given some key minutes and goes to the bench. Here's the foul, George.
Well, Chet Washington able to break Harris down off the bounce. Again, it's going to be Ben Davis with free throw opportunities here with the 1-and-1, and they're going to have to knock these down.
Chet Washington at the free throw line for the Giants.
Washington, a 65% free throw shooter. Ben Davis has failed to take advantage of the one-on-one twice here in the period.
Certainly would be nice if Carlson Harris could give Lafayette Jeff some offense, try and get himself open on the offensive end. He's not working very hard to get open.
Nice inside pass and finish, Kylie Watts.
Tough play there by Watts.
First basket for Watts since the first quarter, and Chris Dubes reaches in and grabs Chet Washington by 14 midway through the second quarter. But Ben Davis now on top by 7. They give Biggs the jumper. He takes one dribble and then chooses the 18 or the 12-footer over the 18-footer. Poisel to Roy Fry, blocked by Biggs, and a foul.
Good action by Ben Davis. Now they had an opportunity in transition. Poisel caught the big fella, Fry. And look, there's a good rebound by Carlisle. He gets it out to Chet. Recognition up the court to Poisel, who sees Fry. And that's good execution of a fast break there.
Just 2 dribbles. They got the floor from the backboard to the backboard in just 2 dribbles. Ben Davis has missed 6 free throws in a row. The Giants shoot just 61% from the line as a team, but up to that average in the semi-state, hitting 31 of 46 attempts and shooting 67% from the line.
There's still plenty of time left in this ball game, 2 minutes, but Jeff needs to put some points up and in a hurry.
Carson Harris, who's been limited offensively, misses the shot, retrieves his own rebound, misses again. Watts can't handle it. Out of bounds to Ben Davis. Lafayette Jeff, we talked about the players that Ben Davis lost from last year's team. Greg Schornstein was an all-star at Lafayette Jeff in 1993 here for Jim Hamill, and now he's an outstanding player at New Mexico, and his team made it to the NCAA tournament. So this program, Lafayette Jeff and Ben Davis both producing outstanding basketball players around the nation, as again Roy Fry takes advantage and has an even dozen.
Great look again by Chet Washington, who's able to break down the defense off the bounce.
Biggs can't get it. Watts fights for it, everybody going after it, and finally Carson Harris gets the basket, and Lafayette Jeff quickly calls a timeout with 1:14 to play. What's Jim Hamill want to get done here in this break?
Well, now you have got to immediately, with 1:14 left in this ball game, and you're down 9 points, I'm sorry, and you have to go for an immediate steal. Now, if it's not there, then you want to make sure you foul and make Ben Davis go to the line, where they just have not done a very good job this morning, Vince.
This is where the assistant coaches really come into play also, Joe.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, as you see, a lot of head coaches huddle with their assistants before they get into the huddle to talk to their kids.
Let's see if we can hear what Coach Hamill has to say. Right on cue, the band fires up, so we won't hear Hamill, but obviously they've got to take advantage of Ben Davis's poor free throw shooting.
Yeah, they really do.
But Lafayette Jeff's got to put the ball in the basket.
Yeah, they really have. That's been the biggest problem. They just haven't been able to get consistent points here in the second half of play, and they desperately need probably a couple of threes mixed into his run if they're going to be able to catch Ben Davis. Of course, they just have not had consistent scoring from anyone other than Biggs in the second half of play.
As you look at the bands representing the two schools today and part of the cheering section that have made its way to the RCA Dome, these two teams are also teams to look for in the future. Lafayette Jeff, according to Jim Hamill, has the best freshman class ever that he has seen in his days of coaching. And Ben Davis has some young contributors as well, including a good-sized freshman that will be on the varsity club next year. So these two teams have the ability and the potential and the players to maybe be back here again in the years to come. Lafayette Jeff led by as many as 14. But since then, it's been all Ben Davis. And Chet Washington can't get the ball in bounds, so he quickly calls a timeout.
Again, Jeff does a good job of really protecting and guarding people off of that inbounds pass. Again, you have got to be able to immediately go for the steal, and if it's not there, let's go to Jim Hamill, see if we can listen in. Welcome.
Rebounding has really been a key for Lafayette Jeff this year, averaging almost 40 rebounds a game. They've out-rebounded 25 of their 27 opponents, but it's really been difficult on the glass against Ben Davis.
It certainly has. Ben Davis has done a wonderful job. There are big people, Fry and Carlisle and Akers in there for a few quality minutes, have done a good job of, especially on the defensive end, only limiting Lafayette Jeff to one shot opportunity, and then particularly in the second half of play.
Don't forget, we've got another game coming your way immediately following the conclusion of Lafayette Jeff and Ben Davis. New Albany and Warsaw will meet in game 2, and of course the winners back here at the RCA Dome tonight at 7:30 for the Indiana boys high school basketball state championship game. Warsaw and New Albany, two teams that are ranked in the top 15, and as we said in the open, if you believe in those kind of numbers, because really the ratings mean nothing at this point in the season. But
no, these games will all be won by the team who plays the best, the most intelligent, and the hardest in between the white lines.
Ben Davis now will try to get the basketball inbounds. Chet Washington had to call a timeout the last time, and now Jan Price retrieves it.
So
Carpenter double dribble. Carpenter double dribbled, and now the travel. He bounced it once on the retrieve and then bounced it again after he was trapped, but the whistle wasn't called there. Instead, he was whistled for a walk a moment later, as you see the coaches really earning their title here in the last 69 seconds.
Right.
Ben Davis comes with a defensive group now, and Carlisle and Roy Fry.
See if Jeff can get them some three-point opportunities here.
Harris shoots the three. Battle for the rebound, pulled down by Riley. Harris is open again from beyond the arc. His own rebound, fouled. And he'll go to the line to shoot two.
Man, Carlson Harris is just having a tough go of it. Two pretty good looks there, Vince, and you really like to see him at least make one of them, and then he does a good job of following that second shot. Look at the look here. See, that's a good look. But see, he stays with it, comes right back after the ball, then almost is able to get a three-point play there. Now it's critical you make all your free throws, and you gotta take the same approach. No steal, you gotta foul immediately.
Harris's older brother Courtney was a starter on Jim Hamill's 92 team that he brought here to the RCA Dome. Harris has 10. Lafayette Jeff continues to pressure full court, but a whistle right in front of us. Abe Honegger picks up the foul as he reached around Jan Price. No secret what Lafayette Jeff has to do. They have to send Ben Davis to the line, trailing by 7, and hope that the Giants miss and give the Broncos opportunities.
Well, right now it's a three-possession ball game, and Ben Davis again not doing a very good job at the free throw line, and it's amazing that the free throw efforts have not cost Ben Davis a game to this point in tournament play, but they've been able to dodge that bullet as Jan Price misses another free throw attempt for the Giants.
Ben Davis has missed 7 of its last 9 free throws, as you see Antoine Carpenter coming into the ball game, and Roy Fry will go to the bench. Steve Whitty has used just about everyone over there on the sidelines today. You see Ben Davis's poor free throw shooting, but so far it hasn't cost them. Hustle plays like that one from Carlisle to get the offensive rebound.
Big turnover there for Jeff, who had possession of that ball. Carlisle able to come up with it. Man.
And then right back comes the substitution pattern for Ben Davis as Carpenter will leave and Fry comes back in for the offensive set. So Ben Davis uses Carpenter on defense and Fry on offense. Ben Davis gets the ball inbounds, and immediately a foul. Ryan Sexton called for the personal.
Well, of all people to foul, that's the one guy you probably do not want to foul. He's a 70% free throw shooter, and probably the purest shooter of the Ben Davis bunch.
Although Poisel did miss a couple of free throws off that Carson Harris technical back in the third, which simply means he's due now. Chris Dubes into the ball game for Lafayette Jeff. A little more offensive firepower for Jim Hamill. Matt Riley going to the bench. Riley is a senior. And a timeout with 45 seconds remaining. Ben Davis leads by 9, and it looks as though the Giants are going to return tonight for an opportunity to defend their state championship, and not since Marion in 1987 has that been done.
Yeah, it's been a few moons since we've had back-to-back champions, but again, I just don't want to count Jeff out. There's 45 seconds to go. You know, these kids have come in here to this great big old arena with all these people, and they've given a supreme effort. And win or lose, I think Jeff can leave here with their heads held high. Coach Jim Harrell did a wonderful job with these young men, and you know, they played it the right way. They played it hard, so everybody in Lafayette could be proud of this team and what they've accomplished this year. Coming into this tournament unranked, they have not only been a surprise, but a real pleasant one.
Jim Hamill's ball club will look back and know that they let a real opportunity get away, George, and lead by 14 midway through the second quarter. And then it just seemed as though everything that had gone right for the Broncos suddenly turned and went wrong as Ben Davis rattled off 12 unanswered points.
That's what makes sports such an interesting avenue to travel. And boy, you know, Jeff just never got anything going offensively in the second half, only able to muster 8 points in the third.
And a whistle and a foul.
If you're Ben Davis, you do not want to foul under any circumstances, because that stops the clock and gives Jeff an opportunity to put some points on the board with no time elapsing.
Jan Price has 4 fouls. Good look at Price. 6 points for the Ben Davis senior. Under a minute. And now Antoine Carpenter reaches.
And the next foul, I think, puts Ben Davis over the limit. So actually, them are not bad fouls. I was reading the wrong number off the scoreboard. So
simply puts Ben Davis in an opportunity to to put Lafayette Jeff on the free throw line if they have to in the final stages. As a battle for the ball right here in front of us. Last touched by Chet Washington, out of bounds to the Broncos.
Jeff's got to get good opportunities. They've been pretty careless with the ball here the last 2 inbounds plays.
Carson Harris misses. Carpenter chases it. Got a little hand in the back from Harris, but Carpenter last touched it out of bounds to the Broncos.
Again, Ben Davis just finds a way to win. You know, I don't know if this team is destined, but they really have found a way to get it done throughout this tournament, as they have this afternoon. Clean breakaway.
Watts scores for Jeff, and Carlisle responds for Ben Davis. Watts again, and quickly calls a timeout. So a couple of back-to-back baskets for Kylie Watts. It's a 7-point game, but with just 13 seconds to play, the Ben Davis fans rise to their feet, sensing that they will return tonight for more basketball.
Well, they certainly will. And, you know, a lot of credit has to go to a lot of different kids for Ben Davis. They've had different guys almost weekly come out and deliver some big-time minutes. Today it was Graham who came in and who was really gave him some quality minutes, did a great job on both ends of the court. And just, you can't say enough about what this team has accomplished.
Jim Hamill's ball club, as George said, certainly nothing to be ashamed of. They won 20 games, and that comes on the heels of back-to-back 6 and 15 seasons. And they've run up against a Ben Davis ball club that just quite frankly is peaking at the right time, and a team that can just hang with you even when they're playing poorly and then just pull away from you when they turn it around and play well.
Well, they showed some character here today. They got themselves down by a pretty good piece there, 8 points, and they didn't fold. They played a little shaky, but they finally was able to find some confidence and had a terrific last 5 minutes of the second quarter, and able to close that gap to 4. And it's been their ball game since then.
Ben Davis gets it in. Carpenter, and now Washington. Jeff tried to foul, but couldn't get there in time, and now Washington is hammered as he goes to the basket, and Abe Honegger picks up the personal. There's 8 seconds left. That should just about make it as close to official as you can get. Good look at Honegger. He will be back, just a freshman. As we said, Lafayette Jeff coach Jim Hamill says he's got the best freshman class he's ever had as a coach. He's excited about the next few years at the helm of the Broncos program.
Well, you come here, you experience this type of atmosphere, and, you know, and if you got any kind of competitive juices at all, you really like to get back and try it again. And certainly, you don't ever count Jim Harrell out. He'll be back.
Matt Clark has come into the ball game, as has Pat Church. Wholesale substitutions for Lafayette Jeff as well. And Carson Harris ends an outstanding career at Lafayette Jeff.
Well,
with disappointment, but someday he'll look back and realize the accomplishment.
Yeah, he's a good kid, and you know, it just wasn't meant to be today. Unfortunately, the game of sports, you got to have a winner, you got to have a loser, but sometimes you learn a great lesson along the way. And
eight seconds remain in the game. Ben Davis is still alive in the hunt to repeat as state champion. 61-53, Ben Davis. The Giant fans maybe didn't turn out in numbers the way some on the west side would like to see. But those that did turn out here to the RCA Dome today wearing their purple were very pleased with the outcome. Coach Steve Whitty is with Ron Sexton.
Thank you, Vince. Coach, congratulations. You have a chance to defend that ground you guys captured last year.
It was ugly the first half, but we had a meeting of minds at halftime, and I'm really proud of how our kids came back the second half and played more like Ben Davis basketball team than what we did the first half. We're just really happy to have an opportunity to defend our state championship from last year, and we're going to enjoy this for a little bit and get ready for tonight.
So often in tournament play, coaches ask for individual players to step up. You were asking for almost the exact opposite. You wanted your team to step up because that's how you got here.
We had too many people, not from an unselfish standpoint. We started the ball game, everybody thought they were going to do it on their own. And we didn't get here doing it on our own. And once we got them settled down a little bit, and got some better composure, then what you saw the second half was more like a Ben Davis basketball team.
Shot was off a great deal in the first half. We were joking that perhaps you guys were so used to Hinkle Fieldhouse you couldn't make the adjustment here to the RCA. It did take time.
Well, hopefully we'll shoot a lot better tonight. We didn't shoot well from the perimeter, and we didn't shoot free throws very well, but hopefully we got those all out of our system, and they'll fall for us tonight.
Quick thought on Warsaw or New Albany?
Well, that's going to be a great ball game. They have a Mr. Basketball candidate, Kevin Hall. New Albany has a lot of outstanding athletes, both ranked teams, so it's really kind of a toss. So it'll be an interesting ball game.
Congratulations once again.
Thanks a lot.
The beat rolls on for Ben Davis.
61-53, the Giants victorious over the Broncos of Lafayette Jeff in Game 1 at the boys basketball state finals. Stay with us. Game 2 between between New Albany and Warsaw is just ahead, but we'll return to recap the opener between Ben Davis and Lafayette Jeff. of Game 1 here at the RCA Dome. The Ben Davis Giants still alive in their hope to repeat as state champions with a 61-53 win over Lafayette Jeff. George, a couple of points of interest for this first ball game today. First of all, of course, Lafayette Jeff had a 14-point lead at 24-10. But Ben Davis had a 12-0 run in the second quarter and a 16-2 run in the third quarter. And it was really ignited by some players you might not think about when you think about Ben Davis.
You're exactly right. And they have gotten great contribution from their bench all year long. And certainly this afternoon's game was just about the same. Again, they've had people come in. Darren Graham came in and did a nice job for him. Chet Washington did a nice job for him. Matt Clark did an excellent job down the stretch and playing with a lot of poise, excuse me. And we're going to take a look at a few plays here. Poisel gets it to Chet Washington, and look at the good unselfish play to Roy Fry for the deuce. And now we're going to take a look. Again, Washington with the ball on a fast break. That's just good decision making, good execution of the bounce pass, and of course Jan Price with the finish.
Carlisle and Fry led the Giants with 12 as Ben Davis wins 61-53. Let's find out what our roundtable of coaching guests think of that first ball game. They're all joined by Ron Sexton.
Thank you, Vince. Yeah, we just have a chance now to look at some of the final numbers. Let's start with Doug Mitchell, the head coach of North Central High School. Talk about a tale of two halves for Ben Davis. That was certainly the case here in Game 1.
Well, I overheard Coach Whitty in the huddle there and talking about his players seem to have their own agenda, not a Ben Davis agenda. And by golly, second half they came out with a definite Ben Davis agenda and played their style of basketball. And I think in the end their brute strength just finally overpowered Lafayette Jeff. And not only on the offensive end for Ben Davis, but on the defensive end, I think their legs, they were shooting the three and maybe a little earlier. The Sexton kid was, and you know, late I think they got a little tired. If somebody guards you like that for that long, it gets old quick, and your legs go out from under you, and they did a tremendous job of defending.
Coach Miller?
Well, I thought the end of the first half was a big difference in the ball game. I thought that when they came back out and defensively turned it up a notch, Ben Davis did, and I think turned the ball game toward their way with their defense. You know, Lafayette Jeff's turnovers, I think, was a factor that really hurt them in today's ball game.
And Garth Cohn, head coach of Alexandria, what's your take?
Well, I thought this game was a lot like Ben Davis's season. It started with defense at the beginning of the season until the offense could get there. The first part of the game, they were missing a lot of easy shots, and they just knew that the defense would. You had that feeling that they knew that the defense will keep us close until the offense comes, and that's pretty much what Steve's done from the get-go in the season. Is start out with defense, and the offense will eventually get you there.
It's officially the final three. I'm Ron Sexton with the panel of experts live courtside from the RCA Dome. Our pregame coverage continues for Game 2 next.
4-point lead for Lafayette Jeff. The beginning of the three-point shootout, and of course there were sectional winners from each sectional site around the state, and they have advanced throughout the state tournament to the finals here at the RCA Dome. And you look at Ken Stillings from Clinton Prairie, and you saw his total last night, and they had a shootout last night here at the RCA Dome and eliminated other participants, making their way down to the Final Four. Each shooter will have 1 minute. George, do you like this competition?
Yeah, I love this. This is really neat competition. It's been instituted in the NBA. I really love to see the kids shoot the ball and watch the rotation.
Last week in the semi-state, Josh Estelle hit 22 of 25. He's from Newcastle and did not even make it into the Final Four for today. So you know we've got some pretty strong shooters out on the court right now. Again, you're watching Ken Stillings from Clinton Prairie. He made 14 of the 25 last night to advance to today's final round.
Well, he's having a pretty tough go of it right now. He just can't seem to get any rhythm.
And by this last rack, you're starting to get a little weary. The arms are heavy, aren't they?
Arms and the legs. And let me tell you, coming out here in front of 27,000 people, not an easy thing for a young kid to do either.
But it's something they'll always remember.
You bet they will.
Ken Stillings was the first competitor from Clinton Prairie. The second shooter will be Brian Bickle from Jay County. Jay County had a good ball club this year, almost beat Anderson in the championship game of the regional. It was a 1-point game. Brian Bickle hit 16 of 25 last night in the semifinals.
See, he likes he's a per jump shooter, and as you can tell, he likes to get up off the floor when he shoots. And what will happen by the time he gets to that last rack, I wonder how much lift he'll have left.
See, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people maybe don't realize. The key to your jump shot is really the legs.
Yeah, it's all the legs, and you're shooting. See, he's starting to get a little bit tired right now. Not jumping quite as high.
George, when your team won it all in 1969, who was the best outside shooter on your team?
Kid by the name of Jim Arnold, who was about 6'3", done a great job. Could really knock down the open shot, and we needed a player like that because of the inside presence of myself and Steve Downing, of course.
And we should congratulate your old running partner, Steve Downing.
Yeah.
He was inducted into the Indiana High School Basketball Hall of Fame this week.
And just couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I was able to attend, and Steve did a wonderful job. And boy, I was just happy to see my friend and teammate become a Hall of Famer.
There's a good look at Nick Tribby, the left-hander from Pioneer High. 17 out of 25 last night. Of an unorthodox form.
He kind of throws it up there, doesn't he?
Throws it in, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he sure does. He's got sideways rotation on that ball. Kind of a knuckleball he shoots, but man, he's effective.
It's not, what's the old saying? It's not how, it's how many, right?
That's right.
And he is knocked down a few in the first couple of racks and will now go to the fourth of 5 racks. 4 balls on each. And then, of course, a money ball, what is considered to be a money ball, the last shot. They should have brought the red, white, and blue, the real money ball out for this event.
If it was going to be a money ball, it should have a little color to it.
Talk a little bit about that venture, George, and you and a couple of your former ABA mates have brought the red, white, and blue ball back.
Yeah, myself, Bob Danalicki, Gary Petticoat, Billy Keller, and Dick Tinkham, an attorney here in town, have went into this venture, and it's had some really good success. We've sold quite a few balls, and it's really been accepted here in the state of Indiana. We just hope that we can market it as well in other states.
Andy Bost of Evansville Harrison shooting. What I like about the red, white, and blue ball, George, is not only, of course, does it bring back the nostalgia of the success of the ABA team here, the great ABA team, the Indiana Pacers, but it's also a good teaching tool because you can see the rotation of the ball, and that's easier to identify than when you look at the orange ball.
There is no better teaching tool for shooting than a ball of the red, white, and blue ball, the money ball, because it just, the rotation, you can clearly see it. And of course, even when you play with the ball, it livens up the game. You have a tendency to follow the ball. You can see it more clearly. It adds another element of excitement to the game.
Not to mention bring back some good memories.
You bet it does.
Of course, the rotation of your shot, maybe from the free throw line, wasn't always something you wanted to see.
Well, thanks, Vince. I knew you were going to bring that up. And of course, the ball never helped me with my free throw shooting. That's for sure. My strength was on the blocks, without question.
As long as you know that, right?
Absolutely.
Congratulations to the three-point contestants, just making their way here to the Final Four. Brian Bickle of Jay County, who you're getting a look at now, as there's a shootout between 2 participants. Also, Ken Stillings, Nick Tribby, and Andy Bost making their way here to the RCA Dome. You know, if your team isn't a state champion, it would certainly be a thrill to be recognized as the state champion shooter.
Yeah, you bet it would.
So each player will shoot 1 rack.
Yeah,
and you saw Brian Bickle.
Looks like 4 shots.
And then here's Nick Tribby from Pioneer.
And did Bickle make 2? I didn't. Well, actually, he's going to get 5 shots, and I think Bickle made a couple.
Now there's real pressure on you at this point in the shootout.
Well, he needs to get one down here, and there's his first one. He needs this one also, and if he gets this one, he wins the competition.
And there's the winner.
Congratulations, Nick Tribby from Pioneer. It's halftime, game 1, semifinal of the boys high school basketball state championship between Lafayette Jeff and Ben Davis.
Tom, can I